DMV, it says from the DMV of Licensing at Olympia, Washington. So here I am. My license was illegally suspended by Judge Gerald Warren. The DMV of Olympia, Washington and of Portland, Oregon confirmed that it was an illegal suspension. And then, after Judge Gerald Warren's actions and the FBI's actions and police's actions resulted in my inability to travel, I lost my financial aid at college at PSU. I also lost my lawsuits. So I was stuck in the state of Washington, and when I lost my financial aid in the spring, about that time is when they changed the law and said that licenses could be suspended for unpaid traffic tickets. So they then legally did suspend my driver's license. And then they put that on the record. So yes, it was lawfully suspended, but that was after they illegally suspended my license. And then the Department of Justice colluded against me to cut me out of any kind of money, knowing that I would be unable to pay that ticket, and then they could, quote-unquote, lawfully suspend my license. So the FBI, in my opinion, is a criminal organization. And I have gone to the Washington Judicial Commission 2 different times about this matter. And on both occasions, I asked if they would like me to submit information from Coburg Police and also any other additional documentation I had. And they both times they said no, and then they closed my case and said that no action would be taken and nothing unlawful was done. This judge committed a felony. He committed a felony crime. So if the Washington Judicial Commission is conducting their quote-unquote investigations by calling up the FBI and then the FBI sending them this kind of crap, they're basically using it as an excuse to cover up for the unlawful suspension. So, they illegally suspend my license, ruin my life, and cut me out of any money. Then they lawfully suspend it, and they use this lawful suspension to cover up for the unlawful one. Basically, Judge Gerald Warren should be losing his house, his car, and all of his clothing, and should be compensating me and my son for what he did. So this is not going to be the end of my complaints to the Washington Judicial Committee, and I would also expect that the Washington Judicial Commission receive the information from me that they should be receiving, which they have been trying to refuse, just as Amy Rowe tried to refuse factual documentation that she knew would prove that the Willamette Week had illegally defamed me. Okay, so basically on this record it says that my license was suspended on 9/22, or hang on a second. Basically, from looking at this information here, it looks like somebody altered the record, because it states that my license was suspended and then still suspended and never taken out of suspension, when actually they did take it out of suspension because Judge Warren's action was illegal and there was no suspension. And I got a confirmation of that from I had to go to Wenatchee DMV and get proof that I wasn't suspended, that my license wasn't suspended lawfully. Judge Warren's own clerk agreed that what he had done was illegal. But then, as I said, after I was afraid to travel because Judge Warren was refusing to correct what he had done illegally, after I was afraid to travel because I knew that he would do the same thing again, they changed the law in Washington State, and then because I couldn't pay off some tickets, they then did suspend my license. But what they did in their records is they tried to make it look like it was always lawfully suspended, which is a lie. It's fraudulent information on this DMV record here, and it's a cover-up of what actually occurred. And I have many witnesses to the facts of what occurred at that time. So if this went to anyone on an international level or in a different state, or somebody decided to look into my record at any time and check things, or if it went to a Washington Judicial Commission, this basically covers up judicial crimes committed by Judge Warren. It also conceals the fact that the Coburg police were involved and the FBI was involved, because who would issue an alert to the Coburg police to pull me over for no reason but the FBI? I mean, I had just finished reporting FBI misconduct, and their next step against me was to have my vehicle taken away from me, to put me under unlawful suspension through Judge Gerald Warren when I was about to go to Judge Lipscomb's courthouse to get documents I needed for my federal bankruptcy court against the Archdiocese of Portland and Oregon. And at that point, then my entire vehicle was searched. It was torn apart panel to panel and returned to me rattling because they had taken everything apart and searched it. So this is basically after I was dating the Iranian man, and then the FBI are showing up at my door 10 minutes later and supposedly taking a complaint against me, which I will get into the facts of that, and they lied about that and they altered my testimony. So then the rest of my record here just makes me sound crazy because they make me sound like I'm a violent person. Later they had me restrained from my grandparents' house, and that was done by the police, who said that you're known by law enforcement from Washington to Oregon. Well, we know why, don't we? And I didn't know why at the time, because I didn't realize how many of the law enforcement individuals and FBI and federal agents were part of the federal gang rape of me, and then collusion to conceal that and take my vehicle from me, unlawfully suspend my license, and cause me to lose college and any kind of financial means at that time. So yeah, I have a whole bunch of stuff that basically I will go back to this after I talk about more of the facts. And right now they are still doing something to my ear. So I just wanted to make note of that while I'm looking through some of these records. It says as of this date that they did their quote-unquote search in 2007 on my criminal history or driving record. It says no identifiable record in the NCIC Interstate Identification Index. However, that doesn't mean a lot. On some of the tickets that were on my record at that time, one was a negligent driving, and I got that when I was from a Washington State patrolman who pulled me over and gave me a false citation for that while I had my son in the car with me. And I was en route to the Spokane Federal Courthouse to file a document that was against that was about childbirth malpractice by Central Washington Hospital. And I first served Central Washington Hospital, and they knew where I was going, and then I was en route and I was driving there on a Friday to get to the Spokane Courthouse in time, Spokane, Washington. And an officer pulled me over. I believe it was an officer connected to someone who knew that I was on my way over there. He pulled me over for quote-unquote negligent driving, which is almost, I think, close to a misdemeanor, but not quite. But anyway, made me look bad because my child was with me in the car. And he basically stalled me, gave me this false citation and stalled me and kept me from filing my document in the courthouse that day as it would have gone through that day. I was also stalked and followed by a number of different cars at that time. And it was shortly after that situation that then my son and I were being tortured at our East Wenatchee residence, full-blown torture all the time. Also, this Seattle telephone call that I placed about Judge Gerald Warren in 2007, September 2007, that's much later. That was after I first talked to Wes in the Wenatchee area about Judge Gerald Warren, because I went to the Wenatchee field office for the FBI right after I was arrested, and I told him what Judge Warren had done, and he said, well, he's retiring anyway, so he didn't think that there was a point in doing anything about it. So basically they tried to start making me look like I was a criminal after I reported the FBI and after a bunch of their agents raped me. They also made sure that I didn't have anything to do with lawsuits anymore, that I could not restore my reputation, and that I was not able to travel, and they hoped that I would kill myself because I was also being tortured at that time. They then, after this report from 2007, which makes me look not very good, there's a list summary response of a few pages of something that says it's from my email account with genext.net, which was a Wenatchee, Washington email Wi-Fi provider. Then included is something that says it's from posted to Cleveland.cv, and someone wrote, do we do anything with something like this? Basically, I emailed everybody. That was sent in on January 13th of 2007.